and I visualize for myself, if that emotion could have a lasso around it, and I could just whip that puppy around that emotion and then follow the rope and walk that rope back, what would it lead me to?
You're listening to the Almost 30 podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsay Simsick.
Tune in for a new episode every Tuesday to hear our honest conversations about topics like wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and self-development with guests who are really smart, really inspirational,
and really fucking funny. It's real, it's raw, and it's unfiltered.
Inspired by our transition from our 20s to our 30s, we realized it's so much more than that. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to help you navigate any transitions in your life and propel your personal growth.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 podcast.
Here we go.
Hi, guys.
Hey, guys. Welcome to the
How are you
Almost 30
feeling?
podcast.
How are you?
Do you ever feel hungover after Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Even though you don't drink?
Depressed. It's just like so much. It's like so many people and emotions and like, even I get like happy sad sometimes. And I get sad, but then I get happy sad sometimes. You know, because some stuff is just so touching or, you know?
Yeah, we were saying like how we love that around this time of year, we like slow down. And then all of a sudden we got to freaking speed back up again.
Dude, I was thinking
which
about
is
that.
sad.
I'm like, this month felt right. Like this felt like the speed we should be at.
Yeah. Yeah. We took time off from recording or at least not as often as we normally do, just because I think we need to like sometimes step away and kind of go through, you know, feedback and what we're feeling and, you know, how we want to approach the new year and just get re-inspired and approach interviews like fresh.
We would have like 2 interviews a day sometimes.
Literally.
3 sometimes.
And then by the end, I was like, the words weren't
Same. And I just don't,
sense.
It's so draining.
Yeah.
In a good, you know, in a good way.
way.
You like pour everything into it, but it's also draining to be engaged in a conversation actively for an hour and a half at a time.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Normally, when you're in a conversation or a group setting like that, other people can kind of take, it kind of divides the energy.
You can come in and out. Like, you know, you're not that long thinking. You know, you're thinking on your feet.
Yeah. Not here at almost 30.
Yeah, not here at almost 30.
But we hope you guys had a wonderful holiday and a few days till the new year. We are super excited. We have a solo episode coming out soon, just kind of reflecting on this year, talking about not just resolutions, but like intentions that we're setting for the new year and things to look forward to.
Community updates.
Yeah, community updates.
Update for the community. I went home. I decided to go home for the holidays. I know that everyone was so thoughtful in their feedback.
In the Facebook group.
Yeah, in the Facebook group, we were talking about if I should go home or not for the holidays. And everyone was so sweet. And they gave me such honest feedback. And I decided to go home.
Yeah.
And I went home. So thanks for the feedback, guys.
So today, day after Christmas, I don't know when you'll be listening to this, but this one is a special one. It is our gift to you at the end of the year. We had a really intimate, beautiful conversation with Natalie Kuhn, who is the executive director of The Class by Taryn Toomey. I don't know how she came into our lives.
Yeah, I don't know.
She just like floated in.
Yeah. It's like times like this when I'm talking to someone like Natalie where I'm almost like, there's so many signs in my life and in the world of people that are actually absolutely incredible and good and unique and uniquely them and uniquely following their path that it almost just blows my mind.
And so I love being around her because she's so human. There's nothing about her that like makes me feel.
She cusses.
Yeah, she's just like in her
Funny,
body
too.
and in her like heart at all times. And it's not always like, sometimes it's messy. Like we were talking about she lost her mom in the last few years, and it was sudden and it was tragic, and she is still grieving and talking about that process of grief, how she went from, being angry to really, I don't even know if she's like accepted it yet, but it's something that we can all relate to. We also talk about, her journey with the class and her relationship with Taryn, and how creatively they have built this place for people to go to both physically and emotionally release. It's this cathartic workout unlike anything you've ever done. If you haven't taken the class by Taryn Toomey and you're in New York or LA, you should absolutely take the time and go. It's really special. So we talk about that. We talk about the people in her life that have been mentors. We talk about her following her soul's purpose and what that means to her, and really listening to, those moments when she feels like, she can't figure it out. It's like this like constant investigation of what am I here to do? And really in those moments, it's like, that's like where the value is. It's not about like getting to where you need to be. It's like the process of figuring it out is what it's all about.
Yeah. I loved, it was nice to have her come on and talk about the losing her mom, in a very just like heart-wrenching way. I haven't lost anyone that's been very close to me. And I just feel like there is such a, you don't know until that happens to you. And there's such a hole for that. So the people that have lost someone that they're very close to or that they love so very deeply, there's a special connection that people can make with that. So her turning that pain into something that's so beautiful and kind of physically releasing the violence, in her body from feeling so low is just really beautiful. So I loved that. And she's just positive. She's light. She's smart. She's funny. You guys are really going to like this one. It's a beautiful journey about her creating the class by Taryn Toomey, her creating a fitness brand with her best friend, following her heart, following her dreams, and manifesting this beautiful life through some really challenging times.
Yeah. So join our secret Facebook group if you haven't already. We'll be talking about this episode and lots of other things in there. And also just a note, at the end of this episode, we are going to share with you a conversation that we had with some of the founders of Yeah Field Trip, which is what are we calling it?
It's like summer camp.
Summer camp.
It's a summer camp for creatives, and we're attending in February of 2018 in California. So we just had them to kind of talk more about it so you guys could really get the vibe and understand exactly what we're going to be doing. Lindsay and I are now teaching a class on podcasting. So if that doesn't get you,
come on, guys.
I don't know what will.
I'm going to wear a teacher's, I don't know.
I'm going to wear a slutty teacher's costume.
my fake glasses. All right. So at the end of this episode, stick around. We have like a 10-minute combo with them. But otherwise, we hope you had a wonderful holiday. Happy New Year. We love you guys so much. Stay tuned for some updates from us. Get excited. Almost 30 Nation.
Almost 30 Nation. Enjoy this episode, guys. Happy holidays.
Love ya.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Four Sigmatic. You guys, Almost 30 Nation is buzzing about the Four Sigmatic. I'm so glad you guys are loving it. So are we. We are using it every day and for different reasons too. Yesterday, I used my cordyceps for my workout. This morning, I was doing a fuck ton of work and I was using my lion's mane. It really helps with focus. The Mushroom Kingdom is a kingdom that's kind of like underused in this way. And they are using reishi, chaga, cordyceps, and lion's mane, as well as other superfoods and adaptogens to make elixirs and superfood mixes that are really easy to incorporate into your everyday. You just mix them with hot water or your favorite nut milk, anything that you want to help you, feel better, think more clearly, and just show up in a way that makes you feel really grounded, confident, and in your body. Krista, what are you taking right now?
I do lion's mane every morning.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's the bomb. It's nice too because, like you said, they have the superfoods in them. So with my hormone issue and balancing my hormones, I need to get in things like real Rodila.
I know it's a hard one. I don't know.
It's in there. So it basically is a nice way to have natural, functional, magical mushrooms every single day and delicious, easy to consume drinks. These taste amazing. So don't think that you're going to taste anything that tastes like a mushroom. It tastes like hot chocolate. It tastes like orange juice. It tastes like berries. That it's honestly amazing and it's not too sweet.
Yeah. And if you're like confused about what all of this is, please check out our episode with Taro, the founder and president of Four Sigmatic. Also recently obsessed with the mushroom matcha with lion's mane. It is so damn good. I think it was sold out the other day and I've been like waiting till it's restocked.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It was when I asked him for it. It was sold out.
Really good. So go to foursigmatic.com/almost30 and you will get 15% off your order. So go on there, stock up.
Stock up.
Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/almost30 for 15% off. Hey guys, welcome to the Almost 30 podcast.
So glad you're here.
So glad you're here. If you are returning to the podcast, welcome back. And if you're new,
Welcome.
hi.
Hi. Hello.
So happy you found us.
So happy you're
We
here.
have a treat for you today. We have Natalie Kuhn of the class by Taryn Toomey. Oh, that's good, Linds. Toomey? That's good.
It's a new class.
It's a new class.
Yeah.
Taryn Toomey.
It's the class by Taryn Toomey. And she is a light worker. You are an inspiration. You are a leader. You are everything. And we are both super inspired by you. So we're so happy to have you on and
So
talk
happy.
about everything that we can.
Yeah. It's fit it in
here.
Yeah.
Everything. So for those of our listeners who don't know what the class is, can you tell us a little bit about the class?
Because it's different
And
than any other
Taryn's
workout
method? Yeah.
anyone has ever done.
The class by Taryn Toomey in the pithiest sense is spiritual fitness or a cathartic spiritual fitness experience. And what that means in a longer description is that you are using your body to awaken or ignite the reactions that lie just underneath the surface. Yeah. So you're using strength training and calisthenics and cardio to work through any stuck emotion, to unstick it, any stuck thought that needs to move, shift, or change. And we use the body as the vehicle.
What is it based on? Like where did it come from?
Yeah, good question. Well, Taryn was a yoga instructor for 6 years or 6+ years. And then she had 2 babies. And as she started to navigate the uncharted waters of new motherhood, she recognized that there was a lot of fire that wasn't really being released in a held yoga pose. And that in the middle of, Warrior 2, she wanted to have the opportunity to yell and vocalize or express herself. And when I met her, she was doing some version of what it is now in the gym of her building and on the decks of friends' apartments in Tribeca. And at the time I was working at Lululemon and she came in and we hit it off. And there was just sometimes, and it's very rare in life when you get that lightning bolt effect when you meet somebody,
Yeah.
And it was that, and at the time I was holding out my hand for rain, waiting to love something more than acting and waiting to love something more than dancing for bands, which is what I was doing previously. And I didn't just get raindrops. I got a full-on hurricane blow through the Lululemon store, and it was truly electric. She is electric. So I took her class twice. And at the end of the second class, she was like, have you thought about teaching? And at the time, there was no name for it and there was no website. It was truly, you dropped $20 in her kid's trick-or-treat bag. All of the money went to her late mentor, Mama Kia, in Peru to support an orphanage there. And I'm sure you've had these kind of blue moon moments too, where you just say yes, right? There's something in you that I love this person. I love what she's about. I love what she's doing. And she is such a deeply intuitive person. And I can extract from that intuition, more organization. So from there, I was like, well, how about I set you up, I break you down, and I teach myself. And then on Sundays, I'll teach a few friends. And when I'm ready, you can come take the class or what I think it is and give me notes. So that's basically how it went, was
Wow.
my own little version of teacher training. And she had this major leap of faith and agreed to it. And 6 months later,
And you were the only teacher at that time other than Taryn.
at that same time, during those 6 months, the goddess that is JC Gossett re-entered Taryn's life and for the first time entered mine. We were in one of those classes before Taryn moved it to a dance studio where she walked in and I thought, wow, somebody of that much light and beauty surely can't be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Surely she's not the full package.
Mm-hmm.
And she really was. And Taryn explained that I was training. And the last thing that JC said before we left that day was, if you ever need a guinea pig, I know all the places that you can rent studio space in New York. She followed up with me. And so it was the three of us. JC and I were the first teachers. And for a long time, I think 2.5 years, it was just the three of us running class and trying to give it a go.
Wow.
What did that feel like to have like a woman like put faith in you? I think sometimes like there's that judgment between females or reservation, you know? I think if you're in the same like world, like fitness or wellness.
I wasn't in the fitness world or the wellness world at the time.
So dancing and working at Lulu, right?
Yeah. And acting. And I certainly felt that experience in the artistic world because it feels really like a race, which is so silly because it just isn't one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I also went to an all-girls school
Mm-hmm.
and I was raised by a super strong woman. And I have always been surrounded by smart, capable, hardworking, talented women. And I had 2 female life mentors prior to meeting Taryn. So it felt like I met my next mentor, like my next sister, my next kin, you know? And that was true. I think my previous mentors really set me up. Jane Malmo, if you're listening, Heather Carlucci, if you're listening, guided me through my teens and then early 20s. And then I met Taryn at 27.
How did you meet your first mentors? Like, did they know you're there?
My first one was an instructor at NYU, Jane Malmo, and she was a part-time lawyer and a part-time theater teacher. She needed a research assistant, and I loved what she was. Oddly, this is actually just coming to me right now. What I was studying with her was catharsis and Freud.
It's amazing.
So
Like,
I was
what,
deep
tell
in
us
the
more about that.
stacks of Bopst, which is the NYU library, collecting a wide range of information and then distilling what I thought she should teach. And that was very cool. And that went into cathartic performance art. So that got into some works of Chris Burden and anyhow.
And Taryn didn't know this about you.
Oh, no,
when you met
this
her.
is back when I was 17 and moved to New York.
That's
so
crazy.
true.
Yeah, that all
is
came
so
together.
true.
Yeah, no, it's actually just coming to me now that I had been studying art and catharsis, at that time. And then I
So
thought I
cool.
wanted to be a baker.
Obviously.
Potentially the antithesis.
This could be a very different podcast.
Yeah.
And so I met a woman, Heather Carlucci, who is a woman far beyond her years. She was a pastry chef when there were only male pastry chefs, right? And she's the daughter of a model, so she was sort of rebelling against that. And then she broke free of that completely and decided to open an Indian restaurant. I don't know, guys. It's been a funny thing, but she has always been a real backbone for me, encouraging me and making sure that I stay true to the passions and the aspirations that I have. And I think that's what any good mentor does, right? Guides you from this eagle eye view that only they have because they're 20 or 30 years older than you, and allowing you very softly by, patting you on the left and patting you on the right to just stay your course, and allowing you to fall and being there with some words of wisdom, and maybe a job
Yeah.
when you fall, you know?
And then, so did they know that they were your mentors? Like, I'm trying to think about, so women that are listening to the podcast, so many chia seeds in my teeth. I am only realizing now how important having a mentor is, and I maybe had some that I didn't know they were my mentors, or they didn't know that they were my mentors, but I wish I would have sought them out more so like you did and had those strong relationships with women that I admired. I was kind of like an avoider of women relationships for a long time. So you found them, and then how did you like nurture those relationships, and how did you make sure that it was valuable for like both parties?
Good question. I think that once I find a connection, a human connection that really speaks to me, I will work so hard. You know? So for Jane Malmo, I mean, I researched my face off because I thought what she was doing was full of integrity and interesting and different and new. And when I met Heather, I believed, and I obviously still do believe, that a female chef should be able to do anything a male chef can do and better. And she had an all-female kitchen, and I was all about it. So there was a real passion that ran through the tasks. So if I had to clean the fridge, I'm going to clean that fridge, you know, because that's serving a greater function. And I've always been that way. And I think that a lot of the folks that I meet who are within our generation are so dead set on being happy right now and every moment that if I'm not happy 100% of the time, I'm not living my best life. And I'm not fulfilling my passion because right now in this moment, I'm uncomfortable. But that's a thing. You got to get used to the discomfort. You got to lean into the discomfort. And that's where you get to know yourself, right? You get to really, ooh, baby, mama, there is information in the states of you, the edges of you that are unhappy, right? And I think that if you're in a job where you admire the person at the top who's guiding you gently, stay the course, do the grunt work, because you're in for a much bigger reward.
How do you know? So for people that are listening that aren't happy, like how would someone know if they're unhappy or if it's like a message? You know, like I find that challenging. It's like, am I just unhappy, or am I being sent messages that I need to like change course? You know?
Stillness and asking. David White, who's my favorite poet and philosopher, he says it's important to ask beautiful questions. And Krista Tippett, who was interviewing him on Being, is a wonderful person. Krista Tippett was saying,
we're like a lot alike.
Oh, great. Oh, great.
Krista's unite.
Oh, yeah, Krista's unite, of course. And she said, you know, what's interesting about that is that a beautiful question elicits an answer of its likeness. So it's going to elicit a beautiful answer, right? So if you're just asking yourself the question, well, why am I fat? Or something like that, you're going to beget an answer in its same vein, yeah? But if you're asking a question of, you know, what is my energy and my life force, my spirit, my soul here to do, you're going to get an intricate response. You're going to get something nuanced that's eventually going to lead you on the path you should be on. And I don't know that it's so much I think that it's an investigation, yeah? And that it's a curiosity rather than the answer. You're actually looking for the investigation, which resides in questions.
And I think with the investigation is like, in the investigation and being curious, it's almost you are curious and you are investigative of the emotions that you are not. So it's like if you're investigative and you're curious, you're being curious about emotions that you're not identifying yourself with. So if it's sadness, you're being investigative about maybe why you're sad, but you're not identifying with the sadness enough to be like, I am sad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that like just building on what you were saying,
yes,
I think is key.
Yeah, I think you're right. That understanding there's a difference with from experiencing the thought or the feeling and branding yourself as it or identifying as it. And that difference is ultimately going to alter your life.
Completely. I mean, it's like the permanence. If you're sad, you're like, I'm so sad right now. I'm so sad right now. Like you are saying like, I'm sad, but it's really just like a fleeting feeling. As with anything, it doesn't last. You're going to be happy again at some point. You're going to be sad again at some point. But it's like not allowing those feelings to just be and not being them.
To circle back to the story of meeting Taryn, right after Taryn put me on the schedule, 2 days later, after teaching my first class, my mom passed away out of nowhere. She was not sick, not in the hospital. No one saw this coming. And the class at the time was not as soaked or steeped in the spirituality for me. It had not gestated for my being, right? After my mother passed and I returned to New York after the funeral and the insurance cards and the death certificate, all the things that come with having that experience, the class took on this whole other life where it became my healing. And as do many people, when they're going through a hard time, many of us lean toward Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart, right? And there's a small little section in there that talks about how an emotion fully felt only lasts 90 seconds. But we spend a day or weeks or months or years avoiding the possibility, even the possibility of feeling it, right? Because it's so overwhelming, uncomfortable, foreign, peripheral, unsafe. So instead of testing that water, which of course you can really only test if you are in a safe relationship, a safe relationship with yourself, right? I'm not a trauma expert, right? So I'm talking about you feel something and then instead of drinking the wine or abstaining from everything or eating all chocolate or not eating or having sex or not having sex or working or not working, all the things that we do to try to prevent it, we lean in and those 90 seconds will pass.
I love that.
What for you was your uncomfortable moment? And that might have been, but what was the information that you were getting during that time that you could possibly translate as a message or your next steps? So whether it was, I don't know if it was your mom's passing, but something that sticks out to you in your life.
As like a piece of advice?
Like you were saying that you get information in those unhappy states. So is there something that you,
Yep. I once said, I'm not an angry person. Yeah, right. Very unwise Natalie once said, anger is just not something that I go toward. I'm not an angry person. There goes the labeling again, the identifying, right? No, I identify as not angry. I confront, I'm uncomfortable, I do all these things, but not me. Angry? No. And the person I said this to had a very simple response, and she goes, "Oh, you might be the angriest person I've ever met."
Wow.
Ooh, woo.
What a baller.
Truth teller.
Yeah, literally.
We need those.
Real talk. So I had to take that one home.
Yeah, what was your response?
Complete.
I would have been blown away.
Everything went white. You remember that Wanda Sykes stand-up when she gets waxed for the first time and the paper gets ripped off and she goes, everything went white. And that's a little bit what it was like for me, where I was like,
I'm like, this bitch doesn't
my paralysis must mean there's truth in this.
Wow.
And that's ultimately what was a very profound experience for me in my grief, was that I was so angry at my mother for dying, which she had no choice over it, No, right? You know what I'm saying? And I was so angry at God or the gods or universe, whatever higher power may be. I was so angry. And then when I couldn't find, when, shaking my fists at the sky didn't result in the effect that I wanted or the redemption that I wanted, then who's next? Who's in my path? Dad, husband, brothers, family, friends. Who's next? Me? Let me just turn that right in on myself and start to talk really unkindly to myself. And we don't often trace that emotion, right? So we feel the emotion and then we don't sit with it long enough. Like sometimes now when I'm teaching, I talk to the class and I visualize for myself, if that emotion could have a lasso around it and I could just whip that puppy around that emotion and then follow the rope and walk that rope back, what would it lead me to, right? So if the thought that comes up is, for example, this is so common for women, and I was going to say women of our age, but I'm going to just say women. If you say those words, I'm fat, then you can walk that lasso line. Okay, well, what is that? That is me self-lacerating. So why am I self-lacerating? I'm self-lacerating because something out of my control just happened. I read an inbox, I read something in my email, or that person looked at me the wrong way, or I didn't get the outcome that I expected, or I didn't get the job or the promotion or my bank account or the walk it back. Okay, now what does that remind me of? Oh, well, man, I've been triggered in that way before. I've been rejected by so-and-so before, by myself before. Well, when did that happen? You walk that back. And then suddenly now you're at the seed of the thing, right? And when you can sit with yourself long enough to tap into the seed, you might have the opportunity to redirect. You have a chance to redirect at any time. It's just a matter of, are you willing to recognize it as your pattern? Are you willing to pause yourself long enough to say, I see you, I know you, and there's another way? Ooh, that's called effort.
Yeah.
Emotional muscle memory, as I like to call it,
What does pausing look like to you?
Breath.
Just one?
Period.
Like
no,
what?
Hey, girl. How much time you got?
Yeah.
One will trigger the vagus nerve and, tap you into the parasympathetic nervous system if you concentrate and take it deep long enough. But to really understand a habit, you got to work on that puppy and see it every day and breathe through it every day and nurture it. It's just something that hasn't been seen or heard. And so it's knocking on your door until it is. Like, grief. I remember I'd be washing the dishes, thinking about what I'm going to make for dinner, and then I pick up that mug, boom, crying, right? It's so it's there and it just needs to be seen, right? What happens when you turn to your shadow, right? There's light cast on it. The shadow changes shape. So it's the same idea, right? So it's there. Your shadow is right there. And you turn and you look at it. You cast a little light on it. And it has no choice but to see a different reflection because you have turned toward it.
How would you guide our listeners to feel maybe paralyzed in the wake of, a tragedy or deep in the grieving process, or maybe there's a big upheaval in their life? What are some first steps that they could do immediately following this episode that they could make some forward movement?
I'm certainly no trauma specialist, but the tools that I could offer are what we do in the class, which is hands-on body, slowing your breath down. Slowing your breath down is going to slow your heart down. Slowing your heart down is going to slow your thoughts down. And then you move yourself out of panic and into a state of recovery, right? And just reminding yourself by placing your hands on your heart or your belly, that you are here, that you're okay, that you're safe. And as one of my teachers, and I'm lucky enough to call her a colleague, Allison McLeese says, healing happens in community. And that, once you tap into the fact that you need help, or that you are unsteady, or that the thing that you might be going through is tough, or maybe tougher than you can handle in this moment, then you reach out to those who won't freak out or run away or tell you, you're fine, placate you, but who will look you dead in the eyes and breathe with you and say, I hear you. That's hard.
I hear you. That's all.
That's all we want,
right?
That's all I want.
As humans.
Ever.
Yeah.
Hey,
partners. Listen up, partners.
Yeah. Listen up, partner.
How was your transition into teaching and becoming this type of healer and also healing yourself? How has that changed your relationship with your husband?
Well, I want to back up because I don't really think of myself as a healer. I think that the person who heals is yourself. So
thank you. Yeah.
If anything, I'm there to
guide.
Yeah, maybe guide. I hope I say some things that help some people and play some music that resonates and you have a good experience. But ultimately, they are the ones doing the work.
I love that.
Yeah. And how's it affected my relationship with my husband? Well, what's so interesting, and very few people know this.
Exclusive. Everyone listen up.
You heard it here.
You heard it first.
My husband works at Playboy.
Love him.
Love that.
Fuck. Does he know John Mayer? One of my favorite articles of Playboy.
Oh my gosh, so funny. So we are in, we have interesting dinner talk.
Fuck, I love that.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I'm not cool enough.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if it has anything to do
Yes,
with
I'm
coolness.
0% cool.
So funny. Well, he is a man of deep integrity and incredibly whip smart, and is elevating the writing of this magazine.
Yeah.
The writing has always been progressive and interesting and on the edge, and politically progressive as well. So his first magazine, I think the interview was with Rachel Maddow. And then the next one was with the Broad City Girls, and then it was Scarlett Johansson. So he's definitely doing a lot to increase, strong female presence. But going back to your question, how has it changed our relationship? Well, I think my communication skills have increased. I think my vocabulary.
Yeah, your vocabulary is on point.
And I'm not even talking about SAT words. I just mean the ability to feel my own emotion and then articulate my own emotion. And then by offering that to him. Oh, the other thing that it's really helped is for me to parcel what's mine and what's not mine. So a while ago, he had something happen at work that was out of my comfort zone. And so I didn't react right away. I took the pause and I sat with it, and I taught class, and I worked, peeled back the little layers of that onion. And then I was able to be like, you know what? I take responsibility for this part, but I can't hold on to that part. And for that, I need you to know that that wasn't cool for me. And I hope you'll meet me at that frontier. Right? Because I think in a relationship, the word boundary is so unique, right? It's so strange because I think if you're dealing with something unsafe, certainly boundaries, 100% need them, right?
Yeah.
And in a relationship, I feel that those boundaries are, the quality needs to be porous because there's so much information going back and forth between the two people, and you're watching how their eyes do they bug out when you give them that information? Do they get all squinty? What's the energy coming from them? How is this going to trigger them? They've lived their whole life. I've lived my whole life. And so the whole nature of a relationship is always the space between, right? Like in Dirty Dancing, your dance space, my dance space. And so being able to be like, this is my dance space and this is what I got and this is what I'm bringing to the table. And that's your dance space. And let's find where our hands meet. you know, that has really helped. And I'm very lucky because the man that I'm with is able to receive all the real talk I have to give with openness. And we have a mutual understanding that we're both coming from good places. And so we're not intentionally trying to hurt each other ever. And with that base level of mutual respect, we can have the hard conversation. It's not always been like that. We've been together 10 years. We've had to develop into it.
How do you develop that base level of respect?
how
It
long
sounds...
did it
I think the respect has always been there. I think the ability to meet each other in the discomfort is what has been a practice.
Love that. And like an accepting of the discomfort? Or
Yeah, like sometimes we'll joke about it. You know, sometimes the best way in is through humor, or at least for me, right?
Same,
So
me too.
sometimes when I know we're about to get into some gnarly waters, I'll be like, you ready? I'm about to go there.
Yeah.
You ready for this? Okay, white knuckle grip. Let's go. Let's talk this out.
Love it.
And then we both kind of like, oh, here we go. Off the deep end. All right, what you got? And then here I go.
Yeah.
Here's my truth.
Mm.
Received. Okay, gotta sit with it. Hang tight, not ready to respond.
I love that.
So there's a little bit of levity that's required, huh?
All about that levity. And to that point, so you said that, it took 10 years to you guys getting there. Have you always been so emotionally mature? Like, have you always had this?
Ooh, I wish James were here.
This depth? Would he be
I'd be
like,
oh, hell no.
shut up?
Take us back.
With him and then with just in life.
I think if I were to take one of those, is Enneagram the right one to say? When you get the, I think my personality is one of mediator. I think it always has been.
Mine's like dominator. Basically, I made that up. Does it exist? Mine's like,
it's such a great thing to know.
She's like, I made it up.
Yeah, I made it up. It's what I am.
I'm sure there's
Mine's
a
like
whole
bully
underground
dominator mix.
knows about this. Literally. Yeah, I think I've been very comfortable in the role of mediator. And so what I've actually had to learn is confrontation. So that's my other side. So I've been able to articulate my feelings, but I haven't been able to do it immediately. Taryn and I joke about this all the time, that she's such a feeler. Her gift is that she feels and articulates. That's what makes her such a brilliant teacher, is that what's happening in the room, she closes her eyes, she tunes into it, boom. She's got it right there. And I am, you're drawn to your opposite. And when I first met James, we spent our first Valentine's Day together. And then 6 months later, I was like, I was bummed that you didn't write me a card. In June. What?
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
That's a girl.
Crazy talk.
Literally.
And now I can take about 24 hours. So that's when when I met Taryn, I would take about a week to be like, that thing that happened last week. I just want to say that I felt uncomfortable and I just want to talk it through. And of course, she's the most receptive, best person to give this feedback to. She really listens and she really takes feedback. And she's guided me in many respects to shorten that length of time in which I need to process and sit with it. And so, when we're in the same room together, she can look over, read the energy and be like, what's on your mind? So it's nice. And I like to think that I have the opposite effect of offering a pause for her. I don't know if she would say the same, but
I'm sure.
I was doing an exercise the other day. It was like you say out loud the preceding thought to what you're going to say. So like, I think if people knew, and I think it works the other way where you say what you are thinking afterwards too, or like after their. So
when someone's like, hello, how are you? And you're like, I want pancakes.
I think it's like,
That's my internal dialogue.
Yeah,
always.
literally. It's like, I want pancakes. How are you? I want pancakes.
I think if someone walks into a room with a certain type of energy, let's say it's kind of like a negative, low vibe energy, and you just say like what's wrong? Like if someone like just walks past you out saying hi, and the preceding thought is like, oh, like I see you're kind of affected. Like what's wrong?
Right.
You know, instead of just like what's wrong.
Right.
You know,
So instead of the reaction.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like sharing that. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but it was a good exercise to kind of create space between the time that you react, like just like you didn't say hi, like it's more like I see you, like something, you're not yourself, like did something happen today? What's wrong? You know?
And I think that what's interesting in that exercise, what I would taffy apart is that, and this is a made up example, so you know, that the reaction there is one of judgment, right? So
exactly, yeah.
So what I would want to pull apart within that is, why does my brain or why does my being leap to judgment rather than empathy or whatever it is, or to just an open acknowledgement of what that reception of energy is, right? And usually behind judgment, right, is a real fear of not being accepted or included or recognized or seen. And I'm definitely an extrovert for sure, but I have the drive from my house to a party is always a very long one. And so now to rewire some of the fear patterns in myself, right before I get to the door, I'll repeat something to myself, and that is, I have everything I need. I don't need anything from anybody at this party. And so what it does is it presses the eject button for me on any kind of desperation or insecurity. And so I can go in with just pure openness. Who's there? You know? And I went to a party recently where, boy, this term influencer just makes me want to vomit everywhere, right? And so there's all this energy around that about, oh, well, everyone's you're gonna meet is gonna be important, and you have to make a good impression, and hope you're wearing the right shoes. And you're like, but wellness people, we're not supposed to judge each other. No, you better have the right shoes.
Yeah,
So,
like, what's your Instagram name? How many followers do you have?
But makes me crazy. So I sat down next to somebody, and I
sat next to the janitor. You're like, what's up?
Totally.
Literally.
Absolutely.
And whenever I go to those, I'm like, where's like a worker? I want to talk to them.
They've got probably better stories.
Literally.
But anyway, I went there and I introduced myself to somebody I was a big fan of. And for whatever reason, they weren't in the whatever headspace or, party space to say much, and that's fine. Hey, I was like, okay. The old Natalie, the Natalie from high school would have been like, I am going to make that person like me. I am going to find my way in. I am going to tell a funny joke. I'm going to,
My response is, fuck that bitch.
Right. Or I'm going to go talk shit about that person.
Yeah, 100%.
Or I'm going to, like all of these protection.
Totally.
This just domino effect of protection, right? And instead, I just repeated that thing to myself. I have everything I need. And I turned to the person on my left who I didn't know, didn't know their name or what they did or anything. And it was, we completely hit it off. And it's been a blooming friendship. And it's just really where you least expect it, right? And when I was able to release myself from my old historic, repetitive story that I need to be validated by having everybody like me, I walked away from that party feeling full.
I feel like at every party, everyone just wants to go home.
So
Anyways.
true.
You know what I mean? Everyone's at parties and then they just want to fucking go home. Literally, where I was at a part, I don't know when it was. I was like, everyone here wants
We
to go
should throw
home.
a presents party.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have presents.
Yeah.
Are we
Not
talking,
no
are we talking
giving
about spiritual
presents,
presents or
yeah,
giving
spiritual
presents?
presents.
Yeah. Spiritual presence.
You know?
Yeah.
What would that look?
I
What would that
don't
look
know.
like?
Everyone would be naked.
Chains, shackles.
Yeah.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our sponsor, BioClarity. Okay, guys, this is a true story. Last night, I had 2 zits, one on either side of my chin, very symmetrical, but don't have time for that. So I use the 3-step BioClarity process, and I put the treat, which penetrates the pores and attacks the bacteria that causes acne. I put that on almost like a spot treatment. And the next morning, although, you could still see little dots, they were completely dried up and it didn't leave my skin dry. Please tell me how it does that. I have turned on so many people. We have turned on so many people to BioClarity. One, my sister is obsessed with it. She texted me the other day. She's like, whoa. She's like, BioClarity actually works. And I was like, yeah, told ya. So BioClarity uses naturally derived ingredients with amazing benefits. It has antioxidants found in green tea to clean and detoxify. It has cooling cucumber to soothe and oat kernel to hydrate, plus so much more. It's unlike traditional acne treatments because it doesn't use benzoyl peroxide, which causes redness, dryness, irritation, which I've used before. And it's just so frustrating. I'm like, oh, this is kind of working, but my skin is red and dry. But BioClarity combines the power of prescription-grade salicylic acid and restorative Floralux. And Floralux is an ingredient derived from chlorophyll, which is, remember that word from science class? It's the green stuff in plants. And it's just so good to your skin. It's so nice. So I am loving BioClarity. I use it every morning, every night. It's suitable for all skin types. Dermatologists developed, tested, and recommended. 100% vegan, cruelty-free, gluten-free, and paraben-free. 3-step process, so easy. So for our listeners, you go to bioclarity.com. Okay, you will get the first month for only $9.95 plus free shipping. That's a $20 savings, and it comes with a 100% risk-free money-back guarantee. But you need to enter our code almost30. Okay, so that's bioclarity.com and enter our code almost30 for the first month for only $9.95 plus free shipping. Cannot beat it. Cannot believe it's that cheap. It is so good. It works. Swear we love it. All right, guys, enjoy. Yeah, parties are a thing, I think, as I get older. I also have to know my intention.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to work that out where it's saying no to things that I instinctually, and that's, me fine-tuning my listening to my intuition, but saying no to things that I am confident are not going to fill me up, but also being open to those unknown territories and those unexplored relationships and little pieces of my story and where I want to go. Maybe they're a part of that I should be open to. But it's hard. I think for me, I and all of us, we're around a lot of people all the time. So I'm I protect my energy when I can.
Mm-hmm.
So spending time alone, which I do that. I try to make time for that a lot. So yeah, it's hard for me.
Yeah,
to
and
discern.
what we were saying before we all sat down together is that this almost 30 crew, this generation of which we all really can relate to, or we're all a part of, aren't we living in a deeply complicated fabric where the iPhone has completely defined the identity of this generation and the way in which we communicate with each other, and the constant ability or capacity for comparison is just. There was a study that I read the other day that said that we are never more than 1 arm's length away from our phone 24/7. Think about it. When you're sleeping, it's by your bed. When you wake up, it's one of the first things you check. You work on it, you play on it, la 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 la. And so going back to what you were saying about having those moments for yourself that are not on the phone, not at the party, protecting your energy and letting it recharge is what's a word that's more extreme than necessary? Urgent.
Vital.
Vital, yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, I agree.
Muy importante.
And I'm so guilty of it. I'm so guilty
we all
of it.
are, yeah.
we all are.
It's really hard. We feel if we're not connected to what makes us money, what makes us feel validated, what people are expecting from us. Oh, they're expecting a post today. Okay. All right, let me take
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, and
who?
Yeah,
no
who?
one's
I don't
expecting you to do
literally
anything.
don't know.
They're thinking about themselves, you know? And that in itself is a freeing thought.
Yeah, that is a freeing thought.
Yeah,
In what ways do you?
I don't owe a post to anyone. I don't, you know, and I release my words out into the world if I have something to share, you know? And I think that comes back to your intention of going to the party. My intention in sharing a part of myself is because I'm sharing a part of myself, not because there's any external demands societally or technologically or, you know, as a business function. It's choice. We always said that's the thing. I think a lot of stress comes from this belief that we are not in choice and we are always in choice. You know?
100%.
It may not seem that way.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't.
Well, I think
people don't think that.
When you believe that you don't have a choice, it's almost more comfortable. Does that make like I'm thinking of like people that are close to me, like family wise, and I think when you're like, well, I don't have a choice, I have to do it, and it sucks, and I'm like,
I don't have to
I'm
hold
miserable.
myself accountable for the fact that there is another way.
Exactly, and because the other way takes effort, and the other way takes like navigating waters you've never been in,
And you could fail the other way.
You could fail, you could. But you could also change everything and change everything for the better. It's like
how scary.
Yeah.
How do you?
Scary.
Yeah, that's so true.
I don't know. How do you move people to make a choice?
And this is again where David White comes in for me, where he speaks about this very thing as a conversation. It's a conversation with the unknown. It's a conversation with the part of yourself that's fearful. It's a conversation with the threshold, that the energetic threshold that separates the choices, you know, and that it's actually in the conversation that you find your vitality, not in the stasis or stagnation of your story that you are broken or stuck or, you know, incomplete, or whatever it is.
I heard the other day that on a podcast, I forget which one it was, but they were saying there's bravery in participation in your life. Which I loved. Like, I thought that was so beautiful, you know, to think about how brave you have to be to actually be an active participant in everything that is going on in your life. To me, it seems exhausting, to be completely honest, you know.
Yeah, because it takes less effort to allow certain parts of yourself to deaden. And really what I hope, and I think the company, the class by Taryn Toomey hopes, is that the work of the class is one that helps to illuminate one's own aliveness. You know, that would be my highest calling. That to be in service, in service of another discovering their humanness and the beauty of the texture and color and vibrancy that is that. And that includes failure, and that includes heartbreak, and that includes loss and joy and exaltation.
Do you have any beautiful stories of people that have participated in the class and just been moved?
I'm lucky enough to say yes. Yeah, the class is what you make of it. So if your intention for going to the party, that is the class, following that same thread, is to get a great workout. You are absolutely going to get a great workout, and the calories are going to be shed, and your body's going to get nice and lean, and la 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 la. And if you are interested in the practice of deep listening, you could potentially get that out of it, right? And many of our students are deep listeners through the work of the class. So we've heard stories of people recognizing that the job that they're in is actually never been part of their soul's path. We've had people who have found that what they thought was a long-standing back injury was actually stuck anger. And, you can choose to believe that if you want.
I believe that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one person, Debbie, I hope you're listening, who after her first class never felt her back pinch since.
Wow.
Again, these are super individual stories. I don't want to say that this is the case for every injury because there's a big difference between discomfort and injury, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have had many people alter the course of their life because they tapped into the belief that they are worthy of making choices that support them.
Can you explain to our listeners the mind-body connection? So in the movement, how, anatomically speaking, how through the movement, through the sounds, through the cathartic, anything, that physical tension is released and how that connects to your emotional state.
Yeah, so we'll do one move for the length of a song. And the endurance and the stamina and the sheer difficulty of that move. And I don't say that to scare anybody because if you've never taken it, you can certainly ease off. It's your own body weight, right? So when you lean into that physical difficulty, what it does is it brings to the forefront your habitual reaction. Get me out of here. This girl's crazy. I don't like this song. Well, I didn't eat enough this morning. I should have had a hard-boiled egg. I didn't sleep enough. Let me make every excuse in the book and let me pull on every level, degree of resistance so that I don't have to feel my quad on fire. And what we encourage you to do is, so what if you got really specific? Well, my quad's not just on fire. My quad is like, it's aching or it's shaking or I'm beginning to sweat. So these are the sensations. So this is what's actually happening, coming back to the facts of it. And then once you tap right back into your body's natural intelligence will begin to show you the reactions that it's holding on to, right? And that there you get into pattern stuff. So what I think is so interesting is that you don't really have much choice about a thought that pops into your head for the very first time. You didn't ask this thought to pop into your head, right? The second time, you step into a place of choice. Now, if you repeat that thought or that habit or that way of reacting or that way of approaching life 10,000 times, now you are in pattern. And let's say you do it 1,000,000 times, now you're in belief. Right? So what we ask you to do is find through the intentional difficulty of the body where your mind goes, what emotion comes up, where your intellect wants to go, where your emotional body wants to go, what are the little facets, the nooks and crannies of you in a safe community finding yourself to be. And then from there, you can start to deconstruct. It might not be true that I am unlovable. It might not be true. That could potentially be a story that I've told myself so many times that it's crystallized into belief. So you work it back and these theories of contraction expansion that we work with of contracting the body and then flushing the body are a lot like the way an inchworm progresses, yeah? So the inchworm bundles itself up and contracts in order to take 2 steps forward. And it's in that same way where you're pushing through, let's say, a strength training move, and then we match that with a cardio flush. And in that, your circulatory system gets to move again. Your lymphatic system gets to move again. And so your body is effectively like you could think about it like chiseling barnacles, barnacles of energy and of thought and of memory and things like that. It's a bit like, what's a good metaphor? Like hydrotherapy. Have you ever done that in the shower where it's hot and cold and hot and cold? And so your lymphatic system is being tricked to move toward the heart or to move away, right? That there's all these things that happen, right? And so what you're doing is you're flushing the lymphatic system to get going. You're stimulating it. And so that's what we're doing. We're stimulating the body to contract and expand so that you are moving what is being held.
What are like 2 Taryn Toomey moves that people could do at home? Like if they're not in LA or New York, like what are 2 moves that they could do or 2 things they could do to kind of get a similar?
Sure. Feeling? Well, the great thing about the class by Taryn Toomey is that the moves are, relatively simple. The burpee or a jumping jack or a leg lift. And it's not so much the move, but your intention in the movement. So even if you were to go on a run, which is not part of our sequencing,
Thank God.
long distance run, the idea still remains where you are stepping into awareness and attention about what happens to you in the movement, what happens to you on the run, what happens to you in the burpee you're doing for, longer than you thought you could. Often, and I think this is probably an old adage by now, but often it's the mind that quits before the body. Of course, you have to be careful of injury, but that mental strength is the work underneath the work.
So it's having the mental strength to do the move, partnered with the intention, is what makes it different.
You're right. I overcomplicated it. Let me simplify. Right. You're in the move. You're in any move for a duration that makes you slightly uncomfortable or sweaty. And from there, Taryn calls it taking the seat of the witness, right? And for me, I like to say that you're coming on top of it. You've got this eagle eye perspective on it. And you separate yourself from you are the thought to I'm thinking the thought, right? So this is the Master Eckhart Power of Now. This is that same stuff, right? So you're separating yourself from being the thought or being the experience and being the thinker or the experiencer. And how you do that is you just keep asking yourself, what's going on for me right now? What am I saying right now? Where did I just go? How does this feel? What's coming up for me? Just checking in with yourself. And that translates. Let me put some more vowels in that word.
Please.
Because if you can do that in the middle of to oversimplify what we do in a fitness class, if you can do that there, then you have the capacity to do it in the middle of an altercation with your boss or your partner or in a moment where you're alone and all your voices start to come up because you're alone. Or when you, God forbid, leave your phone at home and you go on a walk and there's no iPod and there's no companion and there's no
we call that
media.
Shadow time.
Hoo-ah.
Dark times.
That's you and you, baby. That's you
and
you.
I need to hang out with myself alone. I haven't done that in a while. I don't even know what's going on.
Beautifully gnarly in there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like I haven't been alone in so long. It's like when I try and force myself to be alone, it's like nothing's happening. I feel like pet myself out, like I need to like give myself more time to like come out. But right now I just like am like,
time of shelter.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. I mean, many people are alone in the middle of a crowd.
Yeah.
So it's just a state of, it's a state of being rather than,
so true.
How many people
I'm
are around.
alone at the party.
I am too, girl. We don't need anything. It's fine. We don't need anyone.
No parties 2018.
Sometimes we ask our guests this, but what would you tell like your 20-year-old self or early 20s Natalie? I don't know where she was at the time. So where were you and what would you tell her mentally and like emotionally?
Let me close my eyes on this one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I would say to release the white knuckle grip on what you think should happen.
What was that? Like acting?
Yeah, when I was in college, I had a real, I came from a family of high achievers, and so I had incredible expectations for myself that were based on desiring the approval of others, of my parents, my family, of many. So I think that I would have asked myself to slow down and see if that path that I was so dead set on having could breathe a little bit, so that if there was some possibility for. Eventually, I got there. Eventually, I was hold your hand out for rain, and wonderful things happened on that path. I got to tour the world. I got to see all these things, and if I hadn't been so dead set, then I wouldn't have had the life experiences from 20 to 27. But there was a real punitive quality about my ambition.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and I think that that sort of, I guess, self-lacerating. I think that is a deeply unkind.
It's so conditional. Like I think if I don't achieve this, then I am nothing, or they'll be disappointed, or
Right. And they're all external, always. Typically, they're just this thing on my CV, this number in my bank account, this this title on my business card, the ranking on a, you're an actor, so the program, or whatever it is. And that ultimately, my sister is a Jungian analyst, and we have these long conversations about the word success and pulling that one apart. It's so fun. But all through my 20s, success was held with in a white knuckle grip, and now it means something else.
Yeah.
At the ripe old age of 32, which I just can't wait for my hair to turn white, and for my husband and I to be in rocking chairs. I can't wait for it, because I'll look back on this age of 32 and I'll have a completely other, idea of success then. What will I know later? What will I know then? I can't wait.
Then
and that's
you'll
the
be
great thing
like-
about the class is that I get to teach what I'm learning. I'm only ever teaching the things that I need to learn myself. If I was actually teaching what I know, it'd be a very short class.
Yeah.
I love that.
So great. Yeah. I love what I do.
that.
It's fun.
Where,
Amazing.
what are you excited about in 2018? Like, what are you excited about upcoming, maybe in end of this year, actually, too?
There's so many things that I could point to that are on the calendar, right? And that's where my impulse goes. But since we're knee deep in this conversation, I'm going to pull back on it, and I'm going to say that I am excited to continually show our teachers and our new staff members and the community that is quickly growing that it's real, that this is not for show, that this is, that Taryn didn't start this because she expected this 4 years later, that I didn't join her and JC didn't join her because we thought this was going to turn into anything, that this company is growing passionately, and because there's a real soft strength in our dedication to being of service.
Mm.
Every day, I'm excited to share that with my team and to share that with our students and to keep growing on a path of integrity. So it's not the things that we have in the calendar, and it's not the event headlines. It's this deep flowing river of vocation, of belief in what we're doing. That's what I'm excited about.
I'm going to take that. It's
It's
the Almost 30
amazing.
manifesto. I'm going to take that and apply it to Almost 30. It's now ours.
It's amazing.
Take it.
Yeah, rooted in service. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like you can only like that is where the root of success is. I think.
I think once you can tap in on you and help yourself,
Mm.
go help someone else.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the key.
How can
Missing link.
how can our listeners connect with you and with the class?
And take one of your classes.
Mhm.
Yeah, all the information is on taryntoomey.com.
Mm-hmm.
The class by TT is our Instagram, and it's really got a lot of tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feed that can really help you on the daily.
Mm.
And mine's a bit of a mix.
I love yours.
This is Natalie.
Love that.
How'd you get that? How the
Yeah,
hell?
literally.
Well, Natalie
Did you get
Kuhn
that?
was taken 9 times over.
Oh, and no one took This Is Natalie. I love that.
I don't
This is
know.
I love
Natalie.
that.
I copied
Yeah.
This Is a Day, which is one of my favorite groups of ladies who create beautiful things. So thanks for that inspiration, A
This is
Day.
Krista's.
I love that. This is
Hey, new name, who this?
oh,
Yeah.
this was
This is
Unreal.
beautiful.
Thank you
I'm
going
gonna
to
be floating
Not
for
only
days
for
to
this,
come.
but
Yeah.
for what you guys are doing and the content that you're putting out there and the work you're putting out there is it's a necessary voice.
Thank you.
That means
Yeah.
a lot. We love it because we can shine a light on people like you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we do it.
Nama.
Namaste
Namaste.
fucking stay, bitches. Write us a review, bitches.
Oh God. Oh, I'm uncomfortable.
Write us a
Guys,
review.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yep.
Please connect with Natalie. And if you are in LA or New York, take a class, the class by Taryn Toomey.
Mhm.
And let us know what you think of this episode. Join our secret Facebook group, which is just a closed group where we discuss all of the things. We love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.
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 Bye. Hey guys, how amazing was that episode? Natalie is everything. I want to stop saying that in 2018, but sometimes someone's everything and you just got to let them know. So if you ever come to LA, let us know. Linds and I will take a class, or we'll take the class with you, with Natalie, because she's the bomb. And now this portion of the episode is when we talk to the folks at Yeah Field Trip a little bit more about the grown-up camping experience that Lindsay and I are doing in 2018. So this combo is real casual. We're just chatting. We're just doing a little bit of laughing, just asking some questions, any questions that you would want to know yourself. So enjoy this brief little convo, and we will see you next week. We love you. Bye.
Well, there's like 2 facets that came together. Like the first one is that there are these big conferences. Like there's big conferences for any profession. Like you go to these things and you put the name tag on and you're walking around like arenas and it's just like, oh shit, what am I going to do?
so hard.
Yeah, like especially in the creative community, like everyone's a small fucking fish until you're huge. So what are you supposed to do? Like, and then you go to these places and you're going to like meet the big fish, but like they come out on stage, everybody claps, they talk for 10 minutes, and then they go behind the scenes and you never see them again. Like, unless it's a meet and greet where you shake their hand and say hi.
But like what? Then what?
Yeah, like
I
thanks
don't
for
want to meet the
being here.
big fish. I'm kind of good with like having them be on stage and like
Yeah.
getting something from them speaking. Like I don't want to talk to them.
And
What are
like,
they going to tell me?
yeah, and what are you going to get out of like 30 seconds of time with
Literally.
them? Like that, I think that was a huge thing for people. And then also you go to these things and it's so huge. Like, who has the guts to walk up to like one other person out of like 2,000 and be like, hey, I'm Steve? Like, nobody. So you go to these conferences, you sit through these huge speeches, you wear a name tag that no one even looks at, and then you go to your hotel room after and get a salad. Like, you're just really isolating yourself, even though you're going for the community. And these guys saw a hole in the market. There was like 5 dudes at the time, and they're like, well, why don't we just all get together and have fun? And so they started this big dance party called Lasers and Blazers, and it got like really huge in Las Vegas during one conference. And so it became like really famous really fast, where everyone was like, fuck yeah, like even if I don't meet anybody, like we're going to Lasers and Blazers and we're being really weird, and like we dress up and we all get together. And that kind of flung together with what happened to Whitney, who's the remaining founder that we all work with. And it started in like 2010, and for about 3 or 4 years, he just started going on these road trips with his guy friends like every year. And there's all these photographers, and there are different types or same types of photographers, but they're going on the road together just to like get away for a fucking week. And then they would make these really weird projects, like just weird videos or like shoots, or they would create it or they would model for it, like all going in these different realms that they hadn't really gone in, but it was still in their world. And the beauty in it was like none of them were competing. And so he started to look at it, like the way he explained it to me even this afternoon was just to remind me, like, it's like you're walking up to a magazine stand, and even if you just shoot profile photos, like, are you just not going to grab the wellness magazine? Like, do you literally have no interest besides your profession or like what you're focusing on? And so having that perspective and having all these things combined, like, they took all the things they wanted to learn, and they took all these people that they knew were craving it, and they took it to a space where it was like a road trip, but you don't have to get in the car. Like, you just have to get there, and you're staying in this space for 5 days and 4 nights where it's just like you're in the woods, you're safe. You don't have to think about where you're going. You don't have to think about what you're eating. You don't have to think about how you're going to get there, other than like what shoes you're going to wear in the morning or how far the walk is. Like, stripping away every single thing down to the bare basic of what you want to do, and then putting all these people in the same space for that long of an amount of time. Like, you can't go hide. Like, even if you went back in your bunk, like, you're sharing with people that you might not know, and it might make you uncomfortable, but that's the point. Like, and you also combine all these things that you wouldn't think connected with you. Like, if I thought about going to this conference this last year, and I really did think about it, but I didn't know anything about it in January, except that there were a few people that I knew were going, and I was like, oh, it's a photography conference. Like, I can't go. And then when I ran into everyone and ended up like on the production team in June, that was the craziest experience, because I realized like I'm actually the person that should be going, because photographers aren't just like camera people. Like, they have all these other interests, and they're actually just people. And that's why it's expanded so much in the last 5 years. Like, now it's just curious, creative people that are going. And who doesn't use a camera? Like, welcome to the world of 2018.
Damn.
So it started as mostly photographers and in that space, and has grown to, yeah. So what other types of creatives are attending?
It's everyone that really revolves around photography too. Like, whether it's a stylist or it's a photographer, or even to this point, like people that use Instagram. Like, so many people just like use that. But then that's expanded to like entrepreneurs, anybody with a business. Like, we have people that do like lettering or graphic design or any sort of business. Like, even with you guys, like having a podcast, like that can be brought to the table too, because how do you present your work? So then if you're like presenting photography, then you can also present like your personal life or clay that you're molding, or for me, it could be like a personal art project. And then that's expanded to like, well, how do you get to be your best self? Like, if you're not feeling well, then you're not being your best self. So how do you feel like well? So how do you feel your best? Like, whether that's meditating, or that's going on a walk, or that's being outside, or that's learning how to eat right, like, that's also come into play on how we're having the conference styled, because it used to just be like the profession, and then everyone expanded, but like the more that you expand, the more you can look within. So now it's going even down to like what vitamins to take, and we have experts on vitamins, we have experts on sleeping. Like, it's this whole broad spectrum now.
Yeah,
Holistic,
will be there on meditation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about. And then what's like the food situation?
It totally depends. Like, if you have any sort of dietary restriction and you write it down, like, it's catered to.
Okay.
But then it's totally like summer camp. Like, it's at El Capitan Canyon outside Santa Barbara. It's like 20 miles north of it. And they have the coolest staff of people. Like they have all these things on site, and it's actually a reserve, like a national reserve. So they have all these restrictions, which makes it kind of fun because then they just cater to us like what we can provide. And so they set up the menu, like we have all the conversations, but then it's almost like a potluck style. Like they just bring all these things out and you walk down the line, and like if you're vegan, like you have your vegan stuff. There's gluten-free, there's dairy-free, there's nut-free. Like we have all across the board. But usually when people sign up for their tickets, like we have this huge fucking master list right now, and like every single person has a note.
Really?
Yeah. It's
2017, baby.
What are the notes?
some people, like we've made some
Like-
just funny.
Like
Non-goat.
Thai coconut.
They don't eat
Thai
goat.
coconut
They don't
allergy.
drink goat milk.
Strictly no vegan.
No vegan, like someone who's like nut-free, dairy-free, soy-free. And then some we've just put like weird. You know, like because now there's just so many. We're like, well, let's just play with it. We'll put something like slightly bizarre, like, and it's just in the dietary column. But most of them, it's like gluten free or dairy free or vegan. Those are like the big three. Yeah, but it actually makes sense. Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
yeah,
Respect.
I know.
Respect people are
At least we
standing up
ask.
for themselves nowadays.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Like,
mean?
Yeah, well, the food's so shit nowadays too.
100%.
Like, yeah,
It's like, yeah,
that's
it's
why.
annoying. But
Demand
also,
better.
Like, I don't want to eat shit.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, if I'm eating fake stuff for
Yeah.
like 8 years, yeah, my stomach might give out. Like,
Yeah.
all right, we get it.
Yeah.
And if I'm going somewhere to be clear and like present,
shit
like I see, like people don't care about the food. I mean, even though the food at Coachella is like something that people like talk about, but like it's an afterthought. They're like, where are the drugs and the alcohol?
Where's
Yeah.
the experience? Like,
And
where's all the
then
cool shit?
I'll just probably like drunk eat food or whatever, whoever,
Yeah.
whatever. But here I think it's, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, because I'm like going to be there to like be
All of it.
there.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
I would relate it to like Burning Man, almost like that's what we've had the comparative of, not in like the bizarre way where we're burning fake people in fires, but like it's that thing where you hear about it and you're like, what the fuck is it? But then everyone that goes is like, it's life changing. Like I lived out of a tent. And, but then you go and like you set up for like 7 days because Coachella and stuff, like you leave, you
Right.
go to your house, like yeah.
I didn't mean to compare it in that way, but
No, I
it
was
made me
like, just
think of like
thinking
the
about
food
it.
thing. Yeah,
'cause I was
totally.
like, oh yeah, like
Have you been to Burning Man?
no, I actually was doing like production work with Coachella this year, so it like made me think
okay.
about it further. Yeah, I did some stuff with Neon Carnival, like really really small stuff. I was not a huge piece in any of it, but like experiencing that and seeing it. And then I had a lot of really good friends go to Burning Man, and I had actually worked with one of the caterers for it. So like hearing about it and then hearing the comparative, like when you said Coachella, I was like, oh shit, great idea. Like,
Totally.
yeah.
That is true. Coachella too is like this is nice because we will talk to strangers. Like we're
Yeah.
going to talk to and get to know a lot of strangers. But at Coachella, it's like I don't talk to strangers.
No, you go with your homies and
You go with
just,
your
like,
homies and chill with your homies.
You get too drunk, you go
Yeah.
back to your bed.
Yeah.
Back tomorrow. Like that's it.
Yeah, you don't really want to get to know people.
And how many people are attending?
500 total will be on the ground.
Damn, so there's like 500 places to sleep?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it is glamping, but like people forget that like glamping is still partly camping. Like,
Yeah.
so that's
They're like, where's my own bathroom?
people come up though and they're like, I requested a bed, and it's like you got it. It's a bunk bed. Like,
Yeah.
or it's in a loft. Like,
Totally.
and there's totally like if you want to buy like the safari tent, like you can buy one of those and have like the glamorous experience. So like that's kind of where it varies too. Like some people are gonna have like their own cabin, and some people are gonna be like 6 people in a bunkhouse. So that's like the difference where that we're really we work so hard, and we work like months on months to try and put people in like the right place and get the right request. So like even if you're in a house of 6 people, like you're still with cool people that like kind of blow your mind, but also really fun. So then you're really back at like summer camp where it's like you're giggling till 3 a.m. and you're like goofing off. Or you might prank the cabin next door. Like that's the fun in it. But that is how we fit that many people too. Like it's kind of a tight squeeze.
Have you guys ever been to summer camp? Did you guys ever?
No.
I used to love summer
You
camps.
did? Me too.
What was it like?
Yeah, although it would be probably different.
Was it in
than-
Norway?
I know. That's why I want to know.
I'm from Poland, actually. So that's where I grew up. So we did I did all sorts of sport camps because I used to do competitive swimming and sailing.
Wow.
And then I did also Girl Scout camps, but they would be quite different than Girl Scouts over here. They would have more like military vibe where we would all build everything ourselves from like chop the wood and like
You would chop the wood.
yeah, you're like literally build your own bed and your tent.
How old were you?
12 or
You're like, I finished. It's built.
Yeah,
What's
they're like,
next?
we're going to leave you out here to fend for yourself. They're like, we suggest killing squirrels for meat. You're like, I'm 12.
Build this fire.
You bring a lot of canned food, so it's fine.
So it's like, was it fun?
Oh, it was so much fun. Yeah. And we used to do all those challenges like, oh, now you have to go for 24 hours to the forest. You can bring 3 matches with you and can survive on food. No, you find some fruit, some berries. And,
Shut up. You like hunt and gather?
Yeah.
It sounds like prison.
Yeah.
They leave you in the woods for 24 hours with only 3 matches.
Like, no wonder it was so cheap.
Literally, it takes $8,000. Yeah.
Well, field trip is not like that.
We actually just leave you in the woods, so welcome.
Yeah.
So for me, field trip is like very glamorous.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Have you fallen in love at field trip?
Maybe. Who hasn't?
Do you guys have any like field trip love people, like people that have dated and are still together that you know about?
There was a couple that showed up at Whitney's the other night, and I can't remember their name. But they met at
well,
field
Whitney
trip.
is so.
Whitney is too, actually.
Oh,
Whitney
really?
Is, yeah. Audrey, you know that story better than I do.
Yeah, I mean, he fell in love with his girlfriend at field trip. Basically, she was one of the teachers. So
Nicole?
no,
That's a business
Yan.
partner.
Oh,
Yan Palmer is the love.
maybe Ian Palmer.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
So he always is like, this is not the place for love, and but then he's like, I actually met my girlfriend at field trip, so maybe,
It's like, it's
maybe
such a
I should
place.
allow that to happen and be okay with it.
Yeah.
That people try to connect in many different ways.
What's your guys' favorite session? What session are you most pumped about besides ours?
I mean, I really, really, really am excited for you guys. Like,
Thank you.
it's going to be so fun. Like, it's such a different but specific twist on entrepreneurship, where it's like, it's about communicating, it's about like entertaining, but like, how do you reach so many people by just sitting down with like 2 or 3? Like, I think podcasts are so fucking interesting. So like, I'm so excited just to like sit in the back of that class and see it. And then I think the next most excited, like I'm really excited to see both Biet Simkin and Aga.
Hey, what's your session?
I wasn't pointing at myself when she was saying that. Well, after going to field trip for so many years and listening to a lot of teachers, and for that always to be an amazing experience, I started teaching from last year, so I'm teaching next year again, and that has been probably the most amazing experience for me, just to pass on the baton and get people, just watch people how they grow and how they listen and take in. My class is about personal work and how to kind of start doing stuff that feeds your soul more than just like your job or what you're commissioned to do, what you've always done for money, and just kind of flip that script and how to turn art into like therapy for yourself.